I hadn't dropped an album in 3 years. Big Sean, we've heard him on a couple of features. We heard him on an album very recently. Who was it? Was it Choppa? Was he on? He was on with somebody. But uh, Big
Not sure.
Sean, we've been doing a temperature check with everybody else so far. Why don't we do one with Big Sean? I mean, if you had asked me early 2010s where I was at with Big Sean, I probably would have said up and coming. Dude
hmm
is probably primed to be a star within the rap field. He's very much in line with good music and really like
Became a star, no doubt about that part.
and then it just feels like he hasn't really been able to keep up with that early 2010s pace of climbing, growing bigger, and it
Mm.
feels a bit like he's met this plateau in my book. I haven't really felt like he sounds super inspired on a lot of the things he's been doing in the last couple of years. He hadn't even dropped an album since 2017. With I Decided, he also did an album with Metro Boomin, Double or
Yeah.
Nothing that year.
Metro one was very bad, by the way.
So I mean, Big Sean, where are you at with him?
Yeah, so having listened to Detroit 2, the sequel to his acclaimed 2012 mixtape, one of the probably most heralded mixtapes that's still not available on digital streaming services. Great tape. I have a lot of songs that I downloaded from that. I listened to those this weekend. They still sound really good. I think probably one of the most notable ones is this one called "All I Know" featuring Wiz Khalifa, which is over the beat of "Helicopter" by Block Party. So you understand why
Mm,
this mixtape has not been cleared.
right, yeah.
But anyway, I now I'm starting to think, because I like Detroit too. I'm starting to think about Big Sean the way I think about Meek, someone that had
Hmm.
this really ascendant career, jump start into mainstream rap stardom in his early 20s, and then really met a kind of critical creative malaise in his mid 20s, and then kind of bounced back as he turned 30, and is now kind of approaching like young OG status. I think there's starting to be a lot more reverence for Big Sean in the game the way there is for Meek Mill. And that's really cool to me because I was really in on early Sean. It's kind of funny to revisit some of his really early stuff from like the Finally Famous era, because a lot of it does kind of sound dated. It reminds me a lot of kind of the last vestige of the blog era in rap, pre-trap, pre-modern
Mhm.
streaming. The rise of Meek, the rise of Drake when Drake was still rising and not yet at the top. Cuddy still very active. The rise of Wiz, that time. I have a lot of fond memory for that, obviously, 2010, 2011. And as you said, Sean had went away for several years, basically an eternity in rap terms. But the last time we really heard him, I Decided, in the Metro collab, not really that great. I think the only time I'd really liked a Big Sean performance in several years was that verse on the Cash Doll album, Ready Set. I think he actually was really great on that. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have high expectations for Detroit 2 or the next Big Sean album until he called it Detroit 2, because that kind of came across as a statement of intent to me and a messaging to the long-term fans that you should care about this project. And I think despite, it's too long, 70 minutes, but I liked it a lot. This is some of the best I think Big Sean sounded since Dark Sky Paradise 5 years ago.
Well, I would agree. I think this is probably the best he sounded in a very long time. Still, I found myself fairly bored, and when it's 70 minutes, you really got to be bringing the heat to
Mm-hmm.
keep yourself engaged for that amount of time. But I did feel like some of the features on here really worked, and I also felt like um, a couple of the songs, Sean sounded more inspired than I had heard him in a while, and I think the clear standout to me from this is the song "Deep Reverence," which
Mm-hmm.
has Nipsey Hussle on it. Um, it just felt like hearing him talk about his relationship with Kendrick and working through that,
Right.
hearing
Of
him talk
course.
about suicidal thoughts, hearing him talk about how he reached this level of fame, but he really didn't feel satisfied with his life. I felt like that was the personal type of Sean you want to hear, whereas like a lot of what his features had become in recent years was just him like bragging about how much money he had, bragging about this or that, and that braggadocious Sean just kind of I think has become uh, uninspiring, uninteresting to me.
It always
Hearing
seemed
him,
kind of corny from him.
yeah,
Yeah, and I don't know why that is. It's not like he's
Mhm.
doing it any differently than someone else, but for some reason I don't know. It felt genuine. Like the whole come up of his career was him chasing fame, the finally famous mixtapes, right? And then gets fame, finally famous the album, which I thought was pretty good. But then the second album's called Hall of Fame, and that was probably his worst project. And it's like once Sean achieved that like dream after because he has like a
Mhm.
superhero origin story, right? Getting plucked up by Kanye after a well-timed feature in front of him. It's a great come up, but yeah, it like that critical malaise. Like I just feel like he didn't know what to say, and I think he had attempted to be lyrical in times, but I just never really wanted to hear it from him. And I still think on this, sometimes like the lyrical message, I still am not super down with. Look, I think "Lucky Me" has been getting a lot of highlights. That's where he talks about getting diagnosed with a heart condition at like
Mm.
19. Um, but then like the takeaway and like really like open, stuff again, similar to talking about his mental health on this. But he also talks about how he's like not about Western medicine because he just used some like holistic like supplements to cure this condition. And I was like, all right, well, I don't know if we need to go with this conclusion, but I'm happy
Mhm.
you're being open about this today.
No, I totally agree. And I also feel like his delivery at a lot of times comes across as either like lackadaisical or just not super fun or
Mm-hmm.
engaging. Like he's pretty much monotone, it feels like a lot of the time. But on this album, I think you hear him bringing a little bit more feeling to what he's delivering. Um, other than Deep Reverence, what other tracks stood out to you, or what was
Mm-hmm.
things you liked?
Yeah, yeah. So I agree that I think just about all the features really felt good. You know,
Mm-hmm.
didn't really care for Travis on Lithuania all that much, but I thought
Mm-hmm.
Sean was good on that. But body language, you got Ty Dolla Sign and Janae Aiko,
Yeah.
two of the most reliable, consistent R&B presences the past decade. Obviously, Big Sean and Janae have a deeper relationship than that. We get the 2088 comeback later on, but I thought that one was really good. Honestly, though, one of the big standouts to me was Wolves with Post Malone. I did not expect to like that, but I thought Sean, the hook, man, like that is a different kind of feel from him than he's given
Mm-hmm.
before. I thought that really worked, and the Post Malone feature actually felt like it was made for this song, and they had like good chemistry on this, which is obviously not always the case. Like if you copy and paste the Post Malone verse, it can sound really out of place. Listen to the Tap In
Mm-hmm.
remix that's out now by Saweetie. Don't know why Post is on that song. It sounds terrible. But on Wolves, I was like, wow, this is interesting to me. This is a new path.
Yep.
Cool. Um, and then there's other moments as well I liked. It's funny, like on feed, you have like briefly like use of Tyler the Creator vocals in the background. And on Don Life, he does it again with Meek vocals very briefly. So I like some of those touches. And the baddest actually stood out to me because of that beat. I was like, wow, this reminds me of like a 1940s movie villain like score. Like here's the villain, dun dun dun. And like I was like, oh, did Bauer make this? Like this sounds really cool. Um, and then yeah, I think some of the other songs still work pretty good. Like Respected, I like Sean on that. I like Guard Your Heart with Anderson Paak. It's really nice to see early Mac and Key Wayne on this, longtime Big Sean collaborators.
Mm-hmm.
Even Wale on Guard Your Heart, I thought was pretty good. Not always the case with Wale. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I really liked Wolves. I was really impressed with how they played off each other in that, and they just both seemed to be bringing a ton of energy to that song. I also, I go a little bit more for the more melodic, like easy listening type stuff, and I thought "Guard Your Heart" with Anderson Paak, kind of
mhm,
singing the chorus and the hook on that was really, really a big standout for me. I agree with you about Travis on Lithuania. I kind of like got bored with him during that song and just him doing more of the same. How did you
yeah,
feel about the Wayne feature though on Don Life?
that's all right.
Yeah,
Um,
that
I
was one
thought,
of the ones that didn't work for me.
yeah, I mean, in general, I'm kind of out on Lil Wayne these days, and like in terms of like we got a 21 song album, maybe we cut them all with Little Wayne. I don't know if we need this, but again, I thought Sean was pretty good on it. Like I think generally speaking, he's trying to bring it as best he can on this. You have those three interludes from Dave Chappelle Erykah Badu and Stevie Wonder. I thought the Chappelle one in particular is probably the most memorable. That's the first one.
Hmm.
Him kind of talking about his experience being a comic in Detroit, you know, um, and the Detroit vibe is something that like it's been like consistent that Big Sean reps Detroit in his music, but I don't know if we've ever really seen him really try and highlight Detroit all that much apart from the Detroit One mixtape until you get, of course, the Friday Night Cipher on this, which brings me back to Detroit versus Everybody on Eminem's label compilation Shady XV. So it's kind of the sequel to that. And it's kind of cool to see some like the new, younger post Big Sean Detroit faces like T Grizzly and Cash Doll and 42 Doug. And wish we had Danny Brown on this. Wish we had TJX6 on this, but still impressive cipher. You know, I mean, at 9 minutes long, like most ciphers, not something you're going to listen to all that much, but it's always kind of cool. Just as like a event posse cut
Yeah.
creation.
The Chappelle story about being too high to deliver his set and just bombing and seeing what it was Danny Brown, right, who was like walking out the back at the end. It just really made him laugh. That was a great story. I think overall, my expectations going to this were fairly low, and I definitely left way more satisfied than I expected. I do feel like at times the production could have been a little bit snappier. Like I feel like a couple of songs feel like they're a little bit underwhelming sonically, but Big Sean does want to start his own record label now. He was planning to, so we'll
good
see.
music's fucking dead, bro. There's nothing left.
I mean, it's been dead though.
Yeah, of course. I will say that, like again, like I'm happy that Big Sean is seeming to grow and he's become a more thoughtful guy in his later years. But I mean, if you're looking for bangers, you're looking for hits. Dark Sky Paradise still the place to go. Like we don't have a Blessings on here. We don't have a All Your Fault. I Don't Fuck With You. You know, so depends what you want from Sean. You know, he's got a lot of music out at this point. So happy he's changing it up and looking forward. So that's good.